Did you finish moving? I was putting my things together and finishing packing them into my suitcase when I was called from behind. The one who called out to me was my husband's mistress, who was looking at me with a grin. Next to her, my husband, who should have been on my side, was also grinning. Well, normally, it's impossible to have a mistress. The movers will be here in 30 minutes, so the move will be complete then. In my words, both my husband and his mistress smiled and high-fived each other. Now that the nuisance is gone. Yeah, that's right. From now on, it'll just be you and me. And so, even though I was in the same space as them, they entered their own world. I thought to myself, do it somewhere else, but at the same time I thought, these two are finished. After all, they were about to face reality. My name is Arya. I'm a 32-year-old office worker. I married Eric 3 years ago, but we don't have any children between us. Even when I said I wanted children, Eric kept avoiding the topic. At first, I thought maybe Eric didn't want to have children with me because he didn't like them. But recently, I've come to realize that it's not the case. I noticed something was wrong with my husband when he came home smelling strongly of alcohol on a day he said he had to work overtime. He was so drunk that he couldn't answer properly. When I went near him as he came back to the entranceway, he hugged me and said, "Natalie, I want to be with you more." I naturally wondered who Natalie was. But before I could ask him about it, Eric said, "I'm going to divorce that wife soon for Natalie's sake. You're waiting without cheating, right?" So instead of immediately questioning him about it, I tried to get information from him in his current state. I asked him while imagining what kind of woman she was. "Hey, when is that?" "What? When are you going to divorce your wife?" "Wife, you always call her a stupid woman. What's up today?" I couldn't help but grimace. That woman is calling me a stupid woman. Moreover, Eric is my husband and yet he just laughs along with her when she insults his wife and doesn't deny anything. Anyway, when are you planning on getting divorced? What should I do? Arya isn't even beautiful or anything, but she's really popular with my parents for some reason. So first I'll tell my parents about Arya's bad side and fill in the moat. Wow, you're thinking about something like that? Amazing. Right? Even at work, I'm recognized as my father's successor and have a promising future. It's easy for me to come up with such a simple plan. He let go of me and puffed out his chest, saying, I thought, what a stupid sight, but I didn't say anything and just smiled at him. Wow, amazing. What are you going to do after filling the moat? Isn't it great? After filling the moat, I'll stick the divorce papers that I've hidden under the bed on his face. She'll be surprised when she finds out that I have already filled out the divorce papers. I bet she'll look like a complete idiot. I think your current face looks much more foolish than me. Anyway, I know he is serious about divorcing me. He'll have spread false rumors about me to his parents, isolate me, and then hand me the divorce papers. It may be a good strategy. However, it is only valid if I do not suspect that Eric is cheating on me and I am unaware of the contents of the plan. Now that I have heard the details of the plan from him and also suspect that he is dating a woman with similar sensibilities, the moment when both Eric and his mistress's lives are going to hit rock bottom may have been confirmed since the moment their affair was exposed. What will happen to this house if you kick out your wife? Well, this house was bought by my father, so it's only natural for me to continue living here. So I'll ask Arya to leave this house. The divorce will happen after my parents start hating Arya, so my father probably won't complain about kicking Arya out. I was relieved that I always kept my smartphone in my pocket. No matter how close I am to my in-laws, even if I tell them that their son is thinking such foolish things, my father-in-law and mother-in-law will not easily believe me. That's why I needed solid evidence. I took out my cell phone and started recording. I succeeded in making Eric talk about what he was going to do to me and what he knew about his mistress several times. I was preparing to go to my in-laws' house on the next holiday with that audio data. Then Eric came there. Are you going out? Yes, I'm going to talk to your father and mother now. When I said that, he made a face. From his point of view, the purpose of talking to my in-laws is to make me look bad, so he probably doesn't want me to get along with them. However, even if he tells me not to approach my in-laws, it would look suspicious if I obeyed him. Don't bother your father and mother too much. Maybe you're the only one who thinks you're close. He did his best to intimidate me. What do you mean by, you're the only one who thinks you're close? There are things like that too. My father and mother are just being kind to you because you're my wife, and they may not think about getting along with you. That's not true. Besides, why would you say something like that when your parents and wife are getting along? It's like you don't want me to get along with your father-in-law and mother-in-law. I said so because I knew he was trying to spread bad rumors about me to my in-laws and ruin my reputation. It must have hit home for him. However, he couldn't admit it there. I was just worried about you. Don't keep my father and mother waiting. Even if they hate you, I don't care. He said that and went out too. I didn't ask him where he was going exactly, but I had a hunch that he was going to see that woman. However, I don't have time for him now. I headed to my in-laws' house because I told them I'd go a few days ago, as I had contacted my mother-in-law and father-in-law. When I handed them a box of sweets as a souvenir, my mother-in-law received it happily and welcomed me. To be honest, I came here today to talk to you about something. As I started talking with a serious expression, my father-in-law and mother-in-law looked at each other wondering what it could be. Since they seemed willing to listen to me, I spoke honestly. Eric mistakenly hugged me while calling out another woman's name when he came home drunk the other day. He is planning to divorce me and kick me out of the house to be with that woman. In the process, he has been spreading bad rumors about me to his parents so that they won't take my side. While telling them everything, I played Eric's voice recording on my smartphone. Both my mother-in-law and father-in-law turned pale. They probably never thought their son would do such a thing. Sorry, Arya. My son has been very rude. My father-in-law bowed his head, almost touching the table, so I said, neither of you did anything wrong. Eric and his mistress are the ones at fault. Please don't bow your heads to me. I asked my in-laws for help today, not to apologize for their son's infidelity. I think Eric will tell you all sorts of lies about me from now on. And if he finds out that you're not on his side, he'll take action. So I want you both to pretend that you were fooled by Eric. Fooled by him. My mother-in-law and father-in-law looked at each other again. Does that mean if Eric says something bad about Arya, you want us to pretend we believe him? Yes, that's right. I think Eric will become more relaxed as his plan goes well, and he'll be more likely to make mistakes. My father-in-law had some idea of what I was talking about. He said, "Oh," in agreement, but held his head in his hands. Eric works at the company where my father-in-law is president. By the way, I also work at the same company, and that's where Eric and I met. Our relationship developed from there, but it seems that Eric's love is fickle. I can't believe he would switch to another woman after approaching me so much. Anyway, my father-in-law knows how Eric works at the company, so he probably agreed with me that being too relaxed can lead to mistakes. Because of his many mistakes, Eric is still an ordinary employee despite his father being the president of the company, and he cannot get promoted or get a raise. Anyway, from now on, I'm going to hire a private investigator to investigate Eric and his mistress and get divorced. My father-in-law and mother-in-law agreed with my idea. Maybe they were already close to me anyway, but they probably agreed because they are serious people who cannot forgive their son's infidelity. Anyway, now that I have their cooperation, all I have to do is wait for the private investigator's investigation and claim compensation for adultery from Eric and his mistress before divorcing him. However, Eric and his mistress acted faster than I did. I have someone I want to introduce you to today. Saying that, he brought a woman into the house. Her name was Natalie. She was a woman who was identified as Eric's mistress by a private detective agency. It seems that she and Eric met at an acquaintance's wedding and fell in love at first sight, according to a mutual acquaintance. They must have thought that I didn't know about their affair, so they were relaxed and made the stupid mistake of talking to others. Well, it was lucky for me, but even so, I was amazed that the private detective agency hadn't hidden it so much. When I heard that, I was amazed and said, I married a terrible man. Even though I was amazed by that alone, I never thought that Eric's mistress would be brought to my house. Moreover, Natalie, who was brought to this house, smiled and said, "You're such a stupid woman. Eric and I are getting along well in this house, and you're living carelessly without noticing it at all. Well, your affair was obvious. But I felt it would be tasteless to talk about the fact that your affair had been exposed here and now, so I decided to watch their behavior for a while longer." Then the two of them began to talk about what they had done as if they had accomplished something great. "Oh, that expensive bed we bought when you started living together? Natalie and I used it a lot. When you weren't at work." "That's right. You said you broke into your savings to buy it? It's such a great bed that we'll keep using it from now on. I work for the same company as Eric, and our company usually has weekends off, so I think Eric is working when I'm working. Did he skip work and bring Natalie home?" I had to explain it to my father-in-law, who is also the president, later. "This house was bought by my father when you and I got married. In other words, it's my house. So you don't have the right to live in this house anymore because you are no longer loved by me. Pack your things now. What are your father-in-law and mother-in-law saying?" At my words, Eric looked at me with a triumphant smile. "My father and mother believe that you are a bad daughter-in-law because they heard it from me. If you don't like it so much, why don't you get divorced? They're also pushing for divorce with you. There is no one on your side." It seems that my father-in-law and mother-in-law pretended to be deceived by Eric as I requested. While relieved that the plan was going well, I headed for the bedroom, took out the divorce papers he had hidden under the bed, and returned to the living room. And I filled it out in front of him and Natalie. Both of them were curious about why I had divorce papers and why I wrote my name on them so easily. But apparently they were more happy about the fact that Eric and I were getting divorced. "Now we're done with this guy. Yay! Eric." They hugged each other and shared their joy together. As soon as I finished filling out my column, Eric snatched the divorce papers from my hand and left the house with Natalie happily. He probably wants to divorce while I haven't changed my mind and marry Natalie. After they were gone, I immediately contacted a certain place. It was a garbage collection company. The company agreed to come tomorrow, so I breathed a sigh of relief. All I had to do was pack up my things and prepare to move at any time. I had decided where to move since I started thinking about divorcing Eric, so I had been sending my belongings there little by little. So my belongings were packed in a large suitcase and put in cardboard boxes to be sent to my new place, and everything was settled. And the next day, Natalie asked me with a grin on her face as I finished packing my suitcase, "Have you finished moving?" Eric was also grinning like her next to her. These two must be excited that they can finally live together in this house as a couple. As I moved my suitcase, I said, "The movers will be here in 30 minutes, so the move will be complete then." Eric and Natalie smiled and high-fived each other at my words. "Now we can get rid of the nuisance." "That's right. From now on, it's just the two of us." And even though we were in the same space, they entered their own world. I thought, do it somewhere else, but at the same time, I thought, they're done for. Because I'm going to have the garbage collection company pick up the expensive bed I bought and all the convenient furniture, appliances in this house. After 30 minutes, as scheduled, a garbage truck stopped in front of our house. Eric and Natalie smiled and let the workers into the house as if they were getting rid of me. Then I said to the worker, "The biggest thing is the bed in the bedroom. Also, please take the refrigerator, microwave oven, and sofa." Eric and Natalie, who were listening to my words next to me, opened their eyes wide. Of course, I thought so. They wanted those, but I was trying to have the garbage collection company pick up the necessary bed and appliances. Wait a minute. The bed and money are mine. Don't do whatever you want. Eric grabbed my shoulder and said that to me, but I shook his hand off. As you know too well, I bought that bed with my own salary. And also furniture and appliances. You said it was too much trouble to go to an electronics store, so I chose them and bought them with my money. Everything in this house except for things like what you bought for your hobby is something I bought. When Natalie heard my words, she glared at Eric. Hey. That's not what you said. Everything that belongs to my wife belongs to me. He said she couldn't do anything and would just leave penniless. She confronted Eric. I was betrayed by my husband who cheated on me, but he had no right to say that I would leave penniless. Of course, I'll claim damages for your affair from both of you. Please look forward to receiving a certified letter from a lawyer. As you said before, this house belongs to your father-in-law, so please discuss what you want to do with him from now on. Eric seemed to remember his father's existence in my words, and he quickly returned to his grinning expression. My father is your company's president. That means you'll be fired for making me angry. I'm his only son. Even if he hesitates, if I talk to personnel, I'll kick you out of the company right away. While the movers were carrying the luggage, Eric was boasting of his victory to me. Since I had already cleaned up, the house was empty. I'll ask my father to buy new appliances, furniture, and a luxury bed. It's embarrassing to say that you can't buy it with your own money, but he doesn't seem to understand that. I left the house with my suitcase after the movers finished their work. However, a few minutes later, it seems that Eric and Natalie's house was invaded by his parents. Eric, who thought they were both on his side, introduced Natalie with a smile, but his parents glared at her and said, "We've decided to put this house up for sale. Get out now." Eric was surprised to be told to leave by parents who he thought were on his side. What? What do you mean? Father. You gave this house to me, didn't you? I let you live in this house because I thought it would be fine if you and Arya got along well, but the name is still mine. So it's my freedom to sell this house. But we're going to live here even if Arya isn't here from now on. I knew all of Arya's bad-mouthing about you was a lie. But I thought you would do something stupid, so I let you swim. Arya asked me to do that. Arya asked you to do that. Then why do you believe Arya more than your own son and treat me so badly? Arya explained your misdeeds with evidence. You just talked without any evidence. It's obvious which one to believe. And what I disliked most was your attitude. My attitude? You're the heir. What kind of stupid son doesn't know that our company is merit-based even though he works for us? It's embarrassing that you think you can interfere with personnel. You're relaxed because it's your father's company. So I'm firing you. Eric broke down in tears at his father's merciless dismissal and words telling him to leave the house. Natalie also tried to escape because she thought he was useless, but Eric wouldn't let her go. The two of them began their worst newlywed life. Now they are borrowing a place that used to be a relative's storage shed and working hard every day to repay me for damages and to live.
I've also signed my part in the divorce papers so that I can divorce you anytime. I can live without you. Do you understand? That's enough.
After he spent all my money for his own selfish desires, I swore to myself that I would ruin his social life. My name is Tracy, and I turned 35 years old this year. Recently, my life has finally settled down and peaceful days have returned. It all started when I became friends with a certain person I worked with at the same company. That person was Kevin, who later became my husband. Kevin and I were close enough to drink together even after everyone else had left the company drinking party. That day, too, after the company drinking party was over, the two of us were having an after party and we asked each other who we like. We got excited talking about things like that, and by the time we realized it, the last train had already gone. By the way, I was interested in him at the time, and he had apparently been interested in me for a long time, so we disappeared into the night town together since there was no last train available. We spent the night together and started dating. I had just turned 30 at the time and was thinking that I wanted to get married soon. So I said to him, "It is me being selfish, but if we're going to date at this age, please date me with marriage in mind."
Of course, I'm glad as that's the plan, but I'm kinda lame to be proposed to, aren't I?
We said it laughing at each other. Since we started dating, we went out for drinks together after work and went on trips using paid leave, and so on. Then one night, He made a reservation at a restaurant with a slightly luxurious night view. After finishing the meal, he took out a ring and proposed to me. I kind of guessed it, but I was very happy. At a later date, after we had both families meet and report to people at work, we got married a month later. We were blessed by everyone at work, and both my parents and I cried and were very happy at the same time. After we got married, we rented the house and lived there together, but my parents suggested that they would support us in having a brand new house built. When I asked where the money came from, they said that they had been saving money for me since I was a child for the future. Then they apparently had planned to use that money for the house to be built when I got married. I also wanted my own house in the future, so I was very happy. From then on, I carefully chose the interior and exterior so that I wouldn't regret it, and when I made up my mind, I asked my parents to get it done. Then, 2 years after Kevin and I got married, he told me,
I want to quit my job and start my own business. What do you think about it, Tracy? This is not just my problem.
I'm not going to quit my job, but if you want to start your own business, I'll support you, and of course I'll help because we are a couple. I was a little anxious about it, but he said we could live with the in-laws if we became unable to make a living. Then, as he had my permission and the peace of mind of being able to live with his parents, he soon quit his job and became foreign capital self-employed. After he started his own business, he made a profit in the first year, but as the second and third years went on, his business started to be in the red. Then after all, we couldn't cover our living expenses with just my income, so I made a suggestion to him. We should ask my parents to get a new house built because we cannot make ends meet with your income and my income, I'm sorry, but then we won't have to pay rent. I've already decided on the interior to a certain extent. It will take 1 to 3 months until the house is built if I ask them now, but in the meantime, you see, your mom told us before that we could go back to their house, so why don't you talk to them? However, he wasn't willing to do that, saying,
I've been thinking about asking for a new house for a long time. But it's not a good idea to go back to their house, because I'm the one who decided to start my own business and I can't just go back there so openly. Besides, my sister is apparently at their house now.
I was disgusted that he still couldn't let go of his vanity during a situation like this. I mean, he easily said yes to the new house, though. Then the next day, for some reason, he was a complete change from yesterday and began to talk like this.
We're going to live at my parents' house from this weekend, so we'll have to pack our stuff and make an arrangement to leave this house.
It was so out of the blue, so I asked him what happened. Then he apparently called his mom after I went to bed to see if we could move in with them for a while. Then she allowed us, apparently. So I also asked my parents about the new house and we prepared to move in with my in-law. From what my husband told me, they said they would welcome us generously, so I decided to take their word for it until the new house was built. At the time, I had no idea that this was the beginning of hell. After completing the procedure to cancel the contract for the current house, we headed to my in-laws' house. However, when we arrived at their house, the situation was strange. My husband said they would welcome us generously, but I felt they had a different vibe. For some reason, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were staring at us. I felt a bit uneasy and asked them both, did I do something wrong? Is it still bothering you? Then they gave me a cold shoulder. It was a short time, but a new life began in an awkward tension. Living with my in-law was really tough. I was hated by my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they said something sarcastic every time something happened. When I was relaxing at home on my day off, my mother-in-law said,
You were able to make a living thanks to my son's earnings, but you are really laid back, aren't you?
What are you talking about, Mom? I earn more than Kevin. Then my mother-in-law and sister-in-law said,
Why do you tell a lie like that? He said that you guys don't have enough money because of you.
How can you tell such a lie? I don't think you can complain, and you're lucky enough that we let you stay here.
They somehow thought that I don't have money, so I asked my husband why they think that way. Apparently, he said to them,
"We can't make ends meet as Tracy earns less. I'm trying hard, but I can't do it anymore."
This explains why the two of them stared at me when I arrived at their house. I asked him why he told them such a lie.
"Look, I didn't want to worry my mom and sis, and it would be lame to tell them that I failed when I decided to run my own business on my own, wouldn't it?"
What the heck? I understand he doesn't want to make them worry, but his excuse of saying it's lame doesn't make sense. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law apparently think that all the living expenses we pay to them now also come out of my husband's wallets. So it all makes sense that they are sarcastic and keep away from me when I am at home relaxing. They also have heard that the new house will be built with his money apparently, and they are ready to move in together when it's built. I don't understand this either. My parents are the ones who are paying for the new house. I was getting more and more confused, which drove me crazy. Neither of them has any money, as their mother-in-law retired and is now living on a pension, and their sister-in-law is an absolute NEET after she quit her job. So they put the bite on me as they think he has money.
Tracy, I heard that you are in charge of his money. I'm going out with friends soon. Can you lend me $337?
It's impossible for me to suddenly lend you $337.
You're so stingy, aren't you?
Then my sister-in-law joined, saying,
Yeah, she is. You're being fed by Kevin, aren't you?
It's all the money I earned, so why do I have to be told this? I couldn't stand it from the bottom of my heart. Then my husband joined the conversation and said,
"It's my money, so don't be stingy, okay? It's not a problem at all, Mom."
Really? Thanks as usual. When compared to that, you don't know how to relax, do you, Tracy?
Kevin, don't you have any for your sister? I want to buy something too, and want about $205.
Okay. You have $205 in your wallet, don't you, Tracy? Give it to her quickly.
As vain as ever, he forced me to hand them over. On top of that, it seems he can't stop lying anymore, saying,
"You're living a luxurious life like this thanks to me."
I couldn't take it anymore, so I had a chat with him. Stop showing off. I can't stand it anymore. At least, make it look like you borrowed it from me and write an IOU.
Lately your stingy attitude gets in people's hair. IOU? I'll write it down for you. It's just a piece of paper, so it doesn't mean anything. You miss the money that much?
Don't say things that don't make sense, like miss money. How much of my salary do you think you've spent?
What? If you're going to go that far, do you want a divorce? I've even signed my part of the papers so that I can divorce you at any time. I can live without you. Do you understand? That's enough? Look, I wrote you an IOU. You're making too much fuss just because I spent only $3,375 of your bonus.
When he said this, he threw the IOU at me, showing divorce papers, as if to say it was my fault. He doesn't show any signs of remorse at all. He said only $3,375, but we've only been at my in-laws for about a month. They spent my summer bonus. I could have just divorced him, but I decided to stay. Because my mother-in-law and sister-in-law still think I've been able to live on my husband's money. I wanted them to go to hell after showing the reality of the fact that my husband is spending my money as if it was his own. Then I started preparing for my revenge. First, I looked for the divorce papers that my husband had signed. Surprisingly, I found it easily. I signed my part and registered it to the city council and sneakily completed the divorce. Next, I told my husband that the new house would be completed soon and made him start preparing to move into the new house. The completion date I gave him at that time was of course a lie. It's already finished. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law seemed to be very happy with the new house. I tried my best to hold my laughter back when I saw my husband with a smug look, as if to say it was all thanks to him. He didn't even know that I was already divorced from him. I can't wait to see what kind of expressions those three jerks will have on their faces to accept this reality later on. I asked my father to put the house under his name, because if it was built under my name, it would be a problem with property division when I got divorced. My father informed me that the new house was completed, so I gradually moved my belongings into the new house. After I finished moving the last of them, I left my in-laws' house without saying a word. The new house is very comfortable, and both the interior and exterior are perfect as expected. I got so excited and spent the whole day inside the house while thinking that the smell of a new house is really nice. Then I received a phone call from my ex-husband at night.
Hey, whereabouts are you now?
Why do I have to tell you that?
Don't be ridiculous. There's no your stuff left, like your bank book or anything.
That's my stuff, so it's none of your business. You should thank me for the divorce papers you had signed, because I signed them and registered. That's about it. We're no longer related as we're divorced. Bye now.
Hey, what do you mean? I don't accept that. Hey.
I hung up while listening to his voice. I rejected the call from him because he kept ringing. Then I slept well in my new home that day. Since then, life in the new house was very comfortable, and I've been having fresh and pleasant mornings every day. I was grateful that my parents had saved money for me and helped me with that whole mess, so I invited them to my house for a party that day. My mother and I cooked together in the built-in kitchen. When the food was ready and the three of us were just about to make a toast, the intercom rang. I can guess who has come. When I looked at the intercom image, it was a trio of my ex-husband, ex-mother-in-law, and ex-sister-in-law. How did you find this place?
You didn't answer the phone, so I followed you after work and found that your new house is all ready. From today onwards, we'll be living here together. Anyway, unlock the door.
Then, my ex-mother-in-law showed up.
Listen. This house was built with Kevin's money. It doesn't belong to you. You're even a wife who has no money. You should stop doing this. Now unlock the door quickly.
Well, I'll now let you know, first of all, the money I was giving you guys was money I earned. That idiot over there was trying to show off and saying, thanks to him, but it was all my money. I have the proof here as an IOU. Besides, I'm already divorced, so we're no longer related. Then, my ex-husband turned up with a smug look.
Hey, I'll admit that we're divorced. And I'll admit that you paid for all the money so far, including the money for this house. But you know what? This house was built with your money during the marriage. So when we get divorced, I get half of the money you paid to build this house as part of the property division. If you don't want to leave this house, pay it off now. I guess you tried to trick me, but think before you act.
Well, this house is under my parents' name, and it was built with their money. I don't know what made you come across that idea, but the house built with their money won't be reflected in the property division when I divorce. Don't you know that? And thank you for admitting everything with a smug look. Now I'm going to hire a lawyer and claim the IOU and also all my money you've spent without permission. Then, my ex-husband fell to his knees on the spot, voiceless. After that, my ex-husband, ex-mother-in-law, and ex-sister-in-law became discouraged, making a fuss outside, so I called the police, explained the situation, and had them taken away before it became a nuisance to the neighborhood. As all the evidence was available on the intercom with the recording, I wasn't interviewed in detail and wasn't asked to come to the police station, so I went back inside the house to carry on the party. I then hired a lawyer to settle the matter with my ex-husband. The details were to agree to pay the amount owed and to agree to stay away. If he turns up in front of me again, he will be arrested immediately. Immediate arrest was due to the fact that the way he identified my new home was considered stalking. A stay-away order against the people in my ex-family was also issued. I heard through the grapevine that my ex-husband has not been able to run his business well since then, and that all he has is increased debt. After divorcing me, my ex-husband and ex-mother-in-law no longer had access to the money they always asked me for, and their lives became increasingly difficult. Eventually, they sold their family home and started living in a shabby apartment. I feel like they are really getting what they deserve. I, on the other hand, invited my parents to live with me in my new home, and the three of us are enjoying our new life together. I want to continue to live happily with my family, taking care of my parents well. How did you like this story? Please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.